SVG's Jason Dackman. It's the Paris 2024 Olympics, and we are here at the NBC Broadcast Center in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm here with a good friend of SVG, Amy Rosenfeld. Amy, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Happy to join you always.
So these games are epic, and that's saying something for any Olympics, right? In terms of your presence here in Stamford, it's bigger than ever. This is the biggest at-home presence NBC Olympics has ever had. The question for me would be, that's great, and that's wonderful, and you're able to have all this infrastructure here. What does that enable you to do in Paris on site from a creative and production standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think all broadcasters during COVID, it forced us to expedite what I felt were workflows that probably were being thought about, just not that quickly. And I think that the ability to do such an extensive infrastructure, extensive broadcast remotely, actually afforded the opportunity to redeploy resources to content on the screen.
Sure.
So, for me, the infrastructure here in Stamford is so vast that we really could have a smaller footprint in country, which allowed to redeploy those funds to technology, cameras. What are we doing with virtual? It really allowed the screen to be the winner and not have a budget that was completely tied up in T&E and our footprint, how big a space do we need? Do we need all these people there? No, not necessarily, to be able to really create great content.
Sure, you can still tell the story, and you see the dollars on the screen, no question about it. Another thing that has certainly garnered a lot of attention is the personalities involved this year for NBC's coverage of the Paris Games, in terms of the celebrities, in terms of the influencers. From a production ops standpoint, how are you guys managing that? It's a different kind of storytelling for sure. Why did it make sense to have sort of a sportainment thing, and how are you handling it from a day-to-day workflow?
Yeah, well, I really give the credit to my boss, Molly Solomon, with this concept that in a European time zone, we knew everything was going to be live during the day. We weren't going to hold anything back. We wanted to experience it live. There it is. But then we were tasked with, okay, prime time, a very important part of our content plan. If everybody knows what happened, how do you get them to come back? And her concept, which she really, I think, pushed from the beginning, was an idea of telling the full surround story. Yes, you knew what happened, but did you really know what happened? And how we could expose the viewer to different elements of feeling that sort of 360 experience for the Olympics. So that involved the friends and family. Now we had fans back in the stands. That was a big element, being able to tell the story through their eyes of their loved one who was competing. This idea of the celebrities, is it important to have sports intertwine occasionally with pop culture? Yes, it is. Olympics, there were challenges. It isn't the Olympics, well, I'm older than you are by a very wide margin, but it's not the Olympics, of old, where we all gathered around the TV. I want to emphasize my TV was color, it wasn't black and white, but we gathered around the TV. It was this family experience. That's not how it is anymore. So we wanted to be able to still cater to the diehard Olympics fan who wants to be told a great story. But then there's also all these other demographics that don't consume long form.
Sure.
So how can we be meaningful and give them a sense of, I don't want to miss out on this, even if they're not the hugest fan of archery. If you have an environment where celebrities are authentically interested, like Snoop, he loves this. He authentically loves this. The story I always tell is he raised his hand and said, I want to go to Olympic, I want to go to track and field trials. Like, okay. And then he got there, and then we're getting calls, I want to try the pole vault. And I thought, I'm not sure that we have an insurance policy that is going to cover Snoop on a pole vault. But he is authentically enjoying, loving the experience, and you can't manufacture that. So when he brings that joy, you have this sense of, wow, Snoop loves it. I want to love it. When you see all these celebrities watching Simone or watching Katie Ledecky, there's a sense of, wow, this must be important. What is this? So I think that the idea was, can we intersect with pop culture in a way that still kept the integrity of the sport, but made it sort of like a can't miss event.
Totally.
And oh, by the way, it's in Paris. And my friends at NBC, they deserve that.
Sure.
I had a rough run here that I happened to miss and parachuted in for Paris. But Paris becomes a character. You don't want to de-emphasize Paris. That's a place everyone wants to be. So I think this idea of, basically saying, look at this cool event that's in this really cool place. Look at all these cool people who are there and watching. I don't want to miss that. So anyway, I think that was the concept of this, building awareness for Olympics, because not everyone even knew when it was or what it was or who these wonderful athletes are. That's an education process that has to start early. And you can get people's attention when you have, Leslie Jones introducing you to Katie Ledecky. That, that draws attention, hopefully in a positive way.
Sure, it's always fun when you're asking an Olympian if they pee in the pool. Like, that's a blast, right? No
Yes,
question.
well, I hope this is the MA rating. I, of course, was not going to go there, but Jace, have at it, okay?
Amy, thank you so much for taking the time. While we weren't able to see Snoop pole vault, the coverage has been amazing thus far, and I'm sure it will be for the rest of the games. Have a great rest of the games.
Appreciate it very much, Jace.
For more coverage of the Paris 2024 games, including NBC's exclusive coverage domestically, stay tuned to sportsvideo.org, the SVG YouTube channel, and SVG Play.